A text notification appeared. 10 Sacred Blessings Protection of the Original Master God Origin. Specific Talent Effect 1. Supreme Blessing of the Origin. The original Master God Tier Origin, one of the 10 chief gods under the Supreme Will, has performed the supreme blessing on you and your subjects. You and your subjects have a small world in your bodies that you can control freely. Specific Talent Effect 2. God of the World. Due to the world in your body, the potential of you and your subjects has increased by a small level. The upper limit is a low-tier deity level advance, grade God Spirit. Specific Talent Effect 3. Origin Favor. Due to the world in your body, you and your subjects are favored by the origin favor. Your luck is higher than ordinary life forms. Under the protection of the origin luck, you can often turn calamities into blessings when you encounter danger. It's also easier to obtain treasures and other resources that ordinary life forms can't obtain. When you and your subjects die, the world in your bodies will leave your corpses and become a part of the myriad worlds. You and your subjects won't really die. Instead, you will become the will of the world and live in the inner world. You will live eternally and coexist with the myriad worlds until the myriad worlds are destroyed. Specific Talent Effect 4. Divine Path to Heaven. You and your subjects will not encounter any bottlenecks in advancement before you attain mid-tier deity level elementary grade. The probability of breaking through the bottleneck and successfully advancing will increase by 20% for all levels before Master God Tier Advanced Grade. Specific Talent Effect 5. Master God's Protection. The development process of your Lord's faction will not be obstructed by other Master God level powerhouses. The original Master God Origin will secretly protect you and your Lord's faction and stop or kill any Master God level powerhouses who dare to come and have malicious intentions. Specific Talent Effect 6. Protector of the Divine Kingdom. When your Lord faction advances to the beginner level Divine Kingdom Lord faction, the Origin Lord Origin will automatically join your Lord faction and become a worshipped Master God loyal to you. However, you have to agree to help him advance to the Supreme God level in the future. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows slightly after reading it. This 10 Sacred Blessings Lord talent is not bad. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Firstly, Origin's supreme blessing could allow the subjects to bring a small world that they could freely control. Small worlds had endless magical uses. Needless to say, those who had read novels that used small worlds as cheats knew the details. Trade, farming, hiding people, small bases, cultivation, all kinds of uses were very useful. The reason why the original spirit race was the #1 race in the myriad worlds was also very related to the small worlds in their bodies. As for the specific talent too, God of World, it was also because of the small world that his potential automatically increased by a small level. This was all the subjects of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, and it did not only include human subjects. Originally, the lowest potential of the human subject was the intermediate grade epic tier, that if he wanted to raise it to the potential of an epic tier advanced grade, he needed at least 20 new human master god tiers. They did not need this process to become the lower limit of the potential of an epic tier advanced grade with the enhancement of this Lord talent. Not bad, not bad. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Just this talent effect alone made him very satisfied. Then, he sensed the number of master gods needed to raise the potential of an epic tier advanced grade to the legendary tier elementary grade. In the end, he discovered that he needed a total of 50 new master gods to raise the minimum potential of the human race to the legendary tier elementary grade, 50. It seems that it will take a long time to increase the potential of the human race. Zhou Zhou took a deep breath and thought to himself. However, he was not in a hurry. The original spirit race had spent countless years accumulating so many master gods and raising the original spirit race to the level of a top-notch bloodline race. How little time has passed. He would just take it slow.as for the third talent effect. Origin favor. It was almost similar to the racial characteristics of the original spirit race. After the original spirit race died, the small world in their bodies would become a part of the myriad worlds. That was because of the original spirit race's contribution to improving the myriad worlds. The original spirit race was favored by the Supreme Will and even personally recognized by the Supreme Will as the #1 race in the myriad worlds. Specific Talent Effect 4, Divine Path to Heaven, also stunned Zhou Zhou. He would not encounter any bottlenecks before advancing to mid-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirits. The probability of breaking through the bottleneck and successfully advancing would increase by 20% before advancing from a mid-tier deity-level elementary grade to a master god-tier advanced grade. Be it the former or the latter, they were enough to make countless life forms and even god spirits go crazy. With it there, the blazing sun divine kingdom was destined to have more and more god spirits, true gods, and even master gods in the future. The Lord talents of the 10 sacred blessings of the 3 races are not bad. Now, I only have the 10 sacred blessings Lord talent of the master god of death, Thanatos, left. If I obtain the 10 sacred blessings Lord talent of the master god tier Thanatos, I will be able to gather all the 10 sacred blessings Lord talent. Zhou Zhou thought. Then he began to think. The god of death, Thanatos, was the master god of the netherworld. Now that the netherworld was already controlled by the reincarnation will, he could go to the netherworld when he had time and chat with the reincarnation will. With his relationship with the reincarnation will, it should not be difficult for him to obtain the other party's 10 sacred blessings Lord talent. Zhou Zhou smiled at the thought of this, that it seemed that he would soon gather all the 10 sacred blessings Lord talent. He wondered what would happen after he gathered all the Lord talents of the 10 holy protection at the same time. Zhou fight finally arrived at the ultimate void battleground with the god spirits. The ultimate void battleground was separated from space, so there was no concept of space here. The battlefield was filled with purple-red scenes, and these scenes were still undergoing strange changes that it looked like he had arrived at a strange hell. Zhou Fight frowned slightly as he looked at the surrounding scene and sensed the changes in his body. His strength had been suppressed and had decreased by at least 50%. Even his Lord's Law was greatly suppressed here. Then he released the Law skill, King, and forcefully raised his strength to the level of Master God tier advanced grade. Only then did he reduce the suppression on him to the lowest level. But even so, he was still suppressed by about 10% of his strength by the environment here. It's because this is not the Supreme Great Cosmos. The laws of the Supreme Great Cosmos are completely inapplicable here. Only existences above the Master God can unleash the power of their nomological path to the greatest extent. In this ultimate void battlefield without being affected by an unfamiliar environment, because they have already broken through the nomological limit of the Supreme Great Cosmos and walked their own nomological path. Zhou Fight quickly thought of the reason. He turned around and looked at the god spirits behind him. When they discovered that the god spirits below true gods were more or less flustered because they could sense that their strength had been greatly affected in this ultimate void battlefield. Almost less than 10% of their strength remained. Only the master gods were barely better and could unleash about 90% of their strength. Zhou Zhou took a deep breath, as expected of the ultimate void battleground. It gave them a wake-up call and let them know how powerful the ultimate void battlefield was. He wondered if he could resolve the problem of his strength being suppressed at this moment. He suddenly sensed something and looked up into the distance. An army of 10 billion god spirits suddenly appeared in the distance. They flew towards Zhou Fight and arrived in front of him in no time. Zhou Fight looked at the other party's sudden appearance. The leader of this faction was a god spirit wearing a black helmet and black armor. He carried a black spear on his back and had a black and red dragon under him. His aura was extremely terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it suppressed all the god spirits present, including the master god tier, to the point of being speechless. Even Zhou Fight held his breath slightly. He looked at the other party and could sense the terrifying demonic aura hidden deep in the other party's aura. It was as if there were endless terrifying demons sealed in the other party's body. However, this aura seemed to be suppressed by an extremely powerful sealing law, and because of that, he stood there as if he was the source of evil, as if he was the endpoint of evil. Zhou Fight's mind was calm. The Supreme God realm. And it was definitely a top Supreme God. Moreover, from the looks of it, the other party seemed to have appeared to take him down a notch. This should be Lord of 10,000 Evils without a doubt. That it seemed that the other party was not his origin. Had said, he was not a member of the Lord of all Races Reserve Army who was purely kind and lawful. However, as an opponent for the Lord of all Races, his actions were not difficult to understand. His gaze swept past Lord of 10,000 Evils and landed on the 1,000 Evil army behind him. The 1,000 Evil army behind this person numbered as many as 10 billion. Moreover, the most terrifying thing was that this 10 billion army was all God spirits. Zhou Fight looked over and had a rough estimate. Among the 10 billion God spirits in front of him, there were probably more than 100 million true God tier. There were about 10,000 Master Gods. 10,000 Master Gods. This was an unimaginable number of Master Gods by Zhou Fight previously. However, it appeared in front of Zhou Fight. Previously, all the Master Gods of the 3 top bloodline races combined, with the elite subsidiary bloodline races only had more than 1,000 supremacy gods. However, here, the 1,000 Evil army alone had 10 times the number of Master Gods of the 3 top bloodline races and elite subsidiary races. Moreover, this was most likely not all of the other party's Master God tier. It could be seen how terrifying the other party's strength was. Moreover, this was only the number of Master Gods. Zhou Fight could feel in the other party's army. At least 5 Supreme God level pressures were faintly discernible. The others were all God spirits below the true God tier level. Zhou Fight secretly took a deep breath. Was this Lord of 10,000 Evils and his 1,000 Evils army? Their strength and power were indeed a little exaggerated if the two sides fought. Zhou Fight was not even sure if his Son of Destiny could successfully use it on the other party. There was a high chance that it could not be used. The other party's strength had already far exceeded them after all. The Son of Destiny could not use it against such an enemy with a huge difference in strength. He looked at the 1,000 Evil army behind him, and his gaze immediately landed on the Supreme Soldier type Ultimate Evil Spirits. These Ultimate Evil Spirits did not have a physical body. Instead, they were a ball of red fog. There were blood-red incantations around this red fog. Zhou Fight controlled all techniques and could tell at a glance that these incantations were seal-type incantations. These incantations can seal demons and turn the power of the sealed demons into their own. The more demons sealed, the stronger the power they would master and the more methods they would have. It could be said to be a supreme profession with extremely high growth. The ultimate evil spirit occupied about 1/5 of the army. The remaining 4/5 were all divine kingdom soldier types. Even so, this power was enough to shock outsiders. The ultimate evil spirit that has just changed classes should be far inferior to my supreme God realm soldier and supreme holy mage god at the same level. With the ultimate evil spirit that has grown up with a high growth rate, it might be able to fight my supreme soldier type, but it's only a fight. The ultimate evil spirit's chances of winning are at most 20%. Zhou Fight assessed in his heart. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. Even though the other party was strong, he was at least stronger than the other party in terms of the strength of his soldier type. When he grew up in the ultimate void battleground, he might be able to fight the other party head-on. At the same time, the Lord of 10,000 Evils was also looking at the new Lord of all Races Reserve in front of him. This was the 4th Lord of all Races Reserve Army, selected by the Supreme Will. Just the strength of true God-tier advanced grade. Lord of 10,000 Evils saw through Zhou Fight's strength at a glance. However, he didn't dare underestimate him at all. This was because according to his understanding, the other party did not even have a single cultivation realm before he came to the High Continent. He was not even a Black Iron tier extraordinaire. However, his strength had increased to his current strength at an extremely shocking speed in the extremely short period of time since he came to the High Continent. The other party was not even 25 years old. Since ancient times, other than those connate God spirits who were born as God spirits, no postnatal life form's cultivation speed could compare to this Lord of all Races Reserve Army. Even he was far inferior to the other party. There was a high chance that it would not happen in the future. Stop. Common People's Regal. I've heard of your name for a long time. I can finally meet you today. After a long silence, Lord of 10,000 Evils was the first to speak. He was here to welcome the other party after all. Your Excellency, Lord of 10,000 Evils, you're too polite. This emperor has also heard of your Excellency's name for a long time. It's said that if not for your Excellency presiding over the ultimate void battlefield, the great cosmos barrier of the supreme great cosmos would have long been broken by the ultimate void creatures. Our world would have long been invaded by these foreign enemies. All the myriad races in the world remember your contributions. Zhou Fight said with a faint smile. He was completely unaffected by the other party's supreme god-level pressure. The Lord of 10,000 Evils smiled faintly and restrained the pressure he emitted. Let's go back to the base first. I'll introduce you to the situation in the ultimate void battleground. The Lord of 10,000 Evils said. Sure. Zhou Fight nodded. Then, everyone flew towards the base under the lead of the 1,000 Evil army. A moment later, the Lord of 10,000 Evils brought Zhou Fight and the army of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom to the base that he had mentioned. It was said to be a base, but it was actually an entire planet. Furthermore, it was a planet that was comparable to tens of thousands of boundless universes. This was the first time Zhou Fight, who had countless bloodline inheritances, had seen such a planet. He could not help but be shocked. He looked at the surface of the planet carefully. On the surface of this planet, there were a large number of racial buildings of different styles. There were also gods from all the races living in these buildings. The weakest of them was a low-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit, and there were about 1 trillion of them. They were all wearing war uniforms. Trillions of god spirits. This was an extremely terrifying number. Zhou Fight was in disbelief. Was the military strength of the ultimate void battleground that strong? Or did every lord of all races reserve army have so many divine subordinates under them? Compared to this scene, the subordinates of the god spirits he had were too shabby. Zhou frowned slightly. He sensed a strange aura from these god spirits. The Lord of 10,000 Evils also saw Zhou Fight's expression. He smiled faintly and said, Did you not expect to see so many god spirits here? Zhou Fight didn't hide his confusion. He nodded and said in surprise, I fought with the 3 top bloodline races in the supreme great cosmos before I came here. The racial factions known as the 3 top bloodline races, combined with their elite subsidiary races, only have 2 billion god spirits. The racial factions known as the 3 top bloodline races, combined with their elite subsidiary races, only have 2 billion god spirits. Is there actually such a huge difference in strength between you reserve armies of the Lord of all races and those top bloodline factions? Also, I feel that most of the auras of the gods on this planet don't seem right. Lord of 10,000 Evils nodded and slowly explained, We'll have to talk about it slowly. The planet you're looking at is the main base of our 1,000 Evil army in the ultimate void battlefield. I call it the Demon Lord planet. We have about 132 base planets like this in the ultimate void battlefield, occupying 15% of the territory of the ultimate void battlefield. Other than being able to carry our soldiers and service members, these base planets also have the ability to control and monitor a place. He is equivalent to a territory token. It's the cornerstone of a territory, and it's also proof of the territory that opened up the ultimate void battlefield. At this point, the Lord of 10,000 Evils suddenly changed the topic and brought up the main point. As for the god spirits you see in front of you, most of them are actually not god spirits. Not god spirits. Zhou Fight raised his eyebrows. The Lord of 10,000 Evils nodded. That is because the level of the battlefield in the ultimate void battlefield is very high. Only god spirits can survive and fight. On this battlefield, it's almost impossible for non-god spirits to live here. However, our divine soldiers' daily lives and war logistics always need some other members to manage and maintain. The god spirit soldiers don't have the time and energy to do such a thing. We can only leave it to the other members. However, the Supreme will can't bring us non-god spirits living beings from the Supreme Great Cosmos. In the end, we thought for a long time and could only use a more extreme method. That is to let the god spirits give birth to descendants on the ultimate void battlefield. Then, they can use a special mystic technique to transform the descendant of the god spirit itself, allowing their essence existence to adapt to the environment here. allowing them to survive on this battlefield even if they are not God spirits. This way, these descendants of the God spirit can survive in the ultimate void battlefield. You're saying that these seemingly God spirits are actually the descendants of the God spirits here, disguised as God spirits through special secret techniques? Zhou Fight said in surprise. That's how they deceived the ultimate void battlefield and allowed them to survive here successfully. I can't say that I was deceived. It's just a way to adapt to and use environmental rules. The Lord of 10,000 Evils said calmly. Transform the physique of the descendants of the God spirit and let it adapt to the environment of the ultimate void battlefield. Zhou Fight was deep in thought. Then, he suddenly thought of something and raised his eyebrows slightly. Then wouldn't they be unable to leave the ultimate void battlefield for the rest of their lives? This was like a problem of acclimatization. Since he had chosen to adapt to the environment of the ultimate void battlefield, he was destined to not be able to adapt to the environment of the supreme great cosmos. The two were completely different. That if he wanted to forcefully leave the ultimate void battlefield and return to the supreme great cosmos, there was only one outcome: death. It was just like how Earthlings would suffocate when they entered space. That's not all. The Lord of 10,000 Evils said, if we can completely defeat the ultimate void creature one day, this ultimate void battlefield will collapse. At that time, the demis who are already considered life forms of the ultimate void battlefield will also die with the collapse of the ultimate void battlefield. It's inevitable. Fortunately, it's still too early to talk about this. Ultimate void creatures can't be eliminated in a short period of time. These descendants of the God spirit can also live for a while longer. Zhou Fight did not comment. He didn't have any thoughts of criticizing their actions of modifying the descendant of the God spirit. With so many God spirits gathered on this battlefield, it was almost inevitable that a descendant would be bombed. With the method to modify the descendant of the God spirit, at least it could allow the descendant of the God spirit to survive on this battlefield that only had God spirits. However, without this method, the descendant of the God spirit would die as soon as it was born. Looking at it this way, he might as well modify these descendants of the God spirit at the very least. They could survive at AS for the price of surviving. That was something that could not be helped. By the way, since you've come to the ultimate void battleground, the Supreme should have set some training targets for you, right? What's the target? Can you tell me? If it's not convenient for you to say, forget it. The Lord of 10,000 Evils asked with a faint smile. It's not inconvenient. Zhou Fight said. The Supreme only has one goal for me, and that is to completely end this war between the two universes and the ultimate void creatures. This goal was personally told to him by the Supreme before he came. This goal was personally told to he by the Supreme before he came. He looked at Zhou Fight in a daze with a blank expression. Suddenly, he smacked his lips and patted Zhou Fight's shoulder. Brother, I'm the third in the Lord of all races reserve army. You don't mind saying that I'm your brother, right? The Lord of 10,000 Evils' attitude suddenly changed. There was a faint trace of pity in her tone. The comers of Zhou Fight's mouth twitched twice as he nodded. He could tell that this fellow was not a bad person. They could talk about it. Brother Demon, do you have anything to say? Brother Common People's Regal, do you know how many years I've been here? The Lord of 10,000 Evils asked a baffling question first. According to my understanding, Brother Devil seems to have stayed here for more than 120 million years. Zhou Fight had the inheritance of the various races in his mind and had some understanding of this matter. That's right. I've been here for more than 120 million years. The Lord of 10,000 Evils' voice was low. In the past 120 million years, I've thought of all kinds of ways and experienced all kinds of setbacks and dangers, but I still couldn't repel those ultimate void creatures, let alone completely end this war. You've seen my power. The Lord of 10,000 Evils pointed at the 1,000 evil army behind him. 10 billion God spirits. 100 million true God tiers. 10,000 master God tiers. I even have several supreme gods under me. However, I'm still unable to completely fight against those ultimate void creatures, even with such a force. Even now, I've only occupied 15% of the entire void battleground. Do you think you can do better than me? The Lord of 10,000 Evils' expression darkened. Back then, he was sent here by the Supreme Will because he hoped that he could resolve the threat of the ultimate void creature. Then, he might be able to become the Lord of all races. However, so many years had passed. Not only did he not expel those ultimate void creatures, even the ultimate void battlefield personally established by the Supreme Will was occupied by more than 90% of the territory by those ultimate void creatures. As a result, they who should have been fighting on their home ground had now become an away game. This was not just a matter of losing face. More importantly, he had lost the opportunity to show the Supreme Will that he had the ability to become the Lord of all races. Now, in the eyes of the Supreme Will, he was just a failure who couldn't fulfill his expectations. He still seemed to have the status of a reserve army of the Lord of all races. However, he was already getting further and further away from the position of the Supreme Lord. It could be seen that the Lord of all races had ignored he for so many years, and this time, they sent a fourth Lord of all races reserve army to him, which proved that the Supreme Will had completely lost patience with him. That was why they sent this common people's regal to replace him. The Lord of 10,000 Evils glanced at Zhou Zhou without leaving a trace at the thought of this. If he ended the war with the ultimate void creatures before this common people's regal, would he be able to recover his status in the Supreme Will's heart, and even have a chance of getting the Supreme Lord position again? This thought flashed through his mind. Then he shook his head and smiled bitterly. If he could do it, he would have done it long ago. Why would he wait until today? Still, if he couldn't do it, it would be even harder for him to become the common people's regaled. As long as he did better than him, his status in the hearts of the Supreme Will might increase a little. The Lord of 10,000 Evils thought of this idea. Instantly, he felt motivated. Zhou Fight smiled faintly when he heard that the other party was questioning his strength. There are some things that it's useless to just say. You have to do it to prove it. When Lord of 10,000 Evils heard this, an obvious look of surprise appeared on his face. In a way, the other party couldn't even see the situation clearly. He still wanted to struggle? Did this fellow really think that he, a fledgling Supreme Lord Reserve Army, could deal with the ultimate void creature that he had spent countless years to deal with? If it was really so easy to resolve, they would not have become one of the greatest problems of the Supreme Will. However, he didn't say anything mocking even though he looked down on him. He only smiled faintly and said, "Brother, you're bold. You just arrived. I've prepared a welcome banquet for you. Why don't we welcome you first? It just so happens that at the banquet, I'll tell you about this ultimate void battlefield and the ultimate void creature." When Zhou Fight first heard that it was just eating and drinking, he wanted to reject it. He had just arrived at the ultimate void battlefield and was feeling smug. Why would he waste time on such favors? However, he changed his mind after hearing the last sentence. "I'd like that." "Thank you, Brother Demon Master," Zhou Fight said with a faint smile. "Hey, this is nothing." Lord of 10,000 Evils waved his hand and pulled Zhou Fight into the base planet to start the welcoming banquet. At the same time, Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, in the Reincarnation Sacred Palace, Zhou Zhou was looking at today's battle summary. After the battle with the three races today, the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom had wiped out a total of more than 200 capital units troops, 800 million Chaos Gods race, and their elite subsidiary race God Spirits, 100,000 true God tiers, and more than 300 Master Gods. After today's territory expansion war, the army of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom had obtained a total of 800,000 mist cores, origin crystals, skill books, equipment, and basic materials of various levels in the capital units. There were also 93,287,312,317,698 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 778,789 legendary tier and below Lord Talent spheres, a large number of Lord Talent crystal fragments of other levels. There were also 30 capital units, 7,838,342,300,000 units of divine crystals from low-tier deity level to high-tier deity level, 12,048,739,898 true God-tier divine crystals. 2. 334, 927, 678 master God-tier divine crystals. 874, 398 grade 1 to grade 3 supreme God divine crystals. 87,433,298,790,000 low-level to high-tier deity-level divine artifacts. 78.99 million true God-tier divine artifacts. 10,893 master God-tier divine artifacts. 127 supreme God divine artifacts. There were a total of about 60.1 trillion divine spark fragments, God-tier herbs, God-tier ingredients, God-tier ores, God-tier blueprints, and other treasures. 2, 387, 988, 732 master God-tier herbs, God-tier ingredients, God-tier ores, God-tier blueprints, and other treasures. 3, 998 supreme God-level God-tier herbs, God-tier ingredients, God-tier ores, God-tier blueprints, and other treasures. In terms of insight defection, the three races were all equipped with supreme treasures to prevent insight defection. There were no gains in terms of insight defection. However, after this battle, the original spirit race's army and the Mu God race's army had all become slave soldiers of the blazing sun divine kingdom. This effect was not inferior to the Sun of Destinies. It was even better. Currently, the number of troops was at least 600 capital units army, a billion god spirits, 100,000 true god tiers, and more than 300 supremacy gods. The exact number was still being calculated. Moreover, this portion of troops was still being reorganized in the Chaos Sea. It would take a while for them to be sent to the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. In addition, in terms of the advancement of God spirits, a total of 121,238,789 legendary tier advance. Grade soldiers had advanced to low-tier deity level elementary grade God spirits. There were also 8,678 high-tier deity level advanced grade God spirits who had advanced to true God tier elementary grade God spirits. Another 16 top-notch true gods of the human race and 20 top-notch true gods of the people of foreign races felt their master god tier bottleneck and applied to enter the reincarnation sacred palace to cultivate in seclusion to try to break through to the master god tier realm. There was a high chance that they would officially break through tomorrow. Zhou Zhou's original military strength was 210 capital units 2, 641241, 173, 818, 321 soldiers, 240,384,609 god spirits, 33,729 true god tiers, and 129 supremacy gods. Now, with these insight defection troops and new god spirit powerhouses, the troops under him reached 146 capital units, with 264,117,457,818,321 soldiers, 239,618,609 god spirits, 33,064 true gods, and 116 master gods. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly after reading it. After today's war, even though the total number of his troops did not change much, excluding the original spirit race and the shepherd's god race, the overall strength of the soldiers had increased greatly, especially in terms of the god spirits. There were more than 100 million ordinary god spirits, nearly 10,000 new true god tiers, as many as 36 new master gods that were about to be born. This was already an extremely shocking improvement. Not bad, not bad. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Then, he closed the battle report and continued to enter the reincarnation sacred palace to cultivate. His clones were all taking risks outside. He had to work hard even if he didn't take risks at the same time. In the ultimate void battlefield, in the base of the Demon Lord planet, at the banquet, the god spirits of the blazing sun divine kingdom were drinking with the god spirits of the thousand evil army. It was very lively. This demon lord was extremely generous. The best wine and delicacies at the banquet were at least at the true god tier level, and the best even included supreme god level wine and delicacies. Zhou Fight did not stand on ceremony. He and Lord of 10,000 Evils ate and drank, casually, as if they were not moved by the scene in front of them. Indeed, they did not have much of a reaction. He had nearly 4,000 Supreme God-level treasures in his first treasure vault, including many Supreme God-level delicacies after the battle today. To eye in the future, he would definitely have more and more of such things. So he naturally wouldn't make a fuss over the scene in front of him. Brother, let me tell you about this ultimate void battlefield. The Lord of 10,000 Evils drank the supreme God-level wine in his hand and was already a little drunk. He said in a low voice, "Originally, this ultimate void battlefield was personally created by the Supreme will to resist the invasion of the ultimate void creatures. However, this battlefield is outside the supreme great cosmos after all. Behind this group of ultimate void creatures is the protection of that void emperor, even with the support of the supreme power of the Supreme will. Therefore, not only do we not have any advantage on this battlefield that belongs to us, we are even at a disadvantage. Later on, as the ultimate void creatures gradually devoured our battlefield, our disadvantage became greater and greater. At this point, 14 of the 15 of the territory of our entire ultimate void battlefield has been occupied by ultimate void creatures. Only our last battlefield territory, which is the radiation range of our demon lord's base planet, is still firmly guarded by us. However, it would be just barely enough. If there are no variables in the future, there's a high chance that this place will be breached. However, the Supreme won't sit back and do nothing. Look, he sent you here. Brother." The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou Fight. He said heartfelt words, perhaps because it was easy to get drunk with good wine. "I don't know why the Supreme will thinks that you can resolve the crisis here, or why he thinks that you can help me delay the invasion of the ultimate void battlefield, but I advise you to be prepared for the situation here." "Thank you, Brother Demon Lord." Zhou Fight looked at Lord of 10,000 Evils and nodded seriously. Even though this Lord of 10,000 Evils had some hostility towards him from being competitors, this hostility should be purely the competitiveness and did not have any ill intentions towards him. It was difficult for Zhou Fight to dislike such a person. "Brother Demon Lord, if I really resolve the crisis of this ultimate void battlefield one day, and even completely end the war with the ultimate void creatures, how about you work under me to Thagada?" Zhou Fight said half-jokingly. The Lord of 10,000 Evils was stunned for a moment before he laughed loudly and said, "If you can really do such a thing, I'm afraid it won't be difficult for you to obtain the position of the Supreme Lord. Even though it's not very honorable for me to become a subordinate of the Supreme Lord, it's a good home. So what if I promise you?" His tone was casual. It was obvious that he felt that Zhou Fight was bragging. Towards this, Zhou Fight only smiled and did not say anything else. Even though he had yet to come into contact with the ultimate void creature, he had only one goal for coming here, to complete the mission of the Supreme Will. Apart from that, he had no other path to take. That was why he said such boastful words, because he had nowhere to go. He could only win and not lose, brother. As the reserve army of the new Supreme Lord, it's not convenient for you to garrison here. Therefore, you can go to the Supreme God Realm Monument later to exchange for a base star core. Then, you can go outside the jurisdiction of the Demon Lord's base planet and establish a battlefield territory that belongs to you. Then, you can use this as a foundation to expand to the surrounding battlefield. When you can occupy the entire ultimate void battlefield, our mission will be completed. But you have to note that the battlefields outside the planetary jurisdiction of the Demon Lord's base are all treated as their territory by those ultimate void creatures. If you bring the base star core to open a base in the wilderness, you will definitely be surrounded by those ultimate void creatures. You have to be careful. The Lord of 10,000 Evils didn't say anything about reinforcements. His troops still needed to defend their battlefield territory after all. He didn't have the strength to send out troops to fight. If he had just sent out the god spirits and the enemy attacked, he would have nothing left. Therefore, he could only let Zhou Fight rely on himself to establish his own territory. Furthermore, as the Supreme Lord Reserve Army sent by the Supreme will to save this place, If Zhou Fight could not even do the most basic thing like establishing a foothold, then he had no right to stay here. That it was better to quit early so that the Supreme wouldn't be troubled. Sure. Thank you for your reminder, Brother Demon Lord. Zhou Fight said with a faint smile. The Lord of 10,000 Evils nodded. Then, the two god spirits enjoyed themselves. After a final conversation, Zhou Fight walked out of the banquet and went straight to a divine object that he had been looking forward to for a long time. Supreme God Realm Monument. Zhou Fight looked at the sky-penetrating divine monument in front of him with a look of surprise. The pressure of this divine item far exceeded that of a supreme god treasure. No god spirit would have been able to approach it if not for the fact that it was restraining its pressure. It's definitely a will-level divine item. Zhou Fight thought to himself. Then, his consciousness entered and quickly discovered all kinds of treasures, cultivation techniques, divine medicines, divine ores, blueprints, divine artifacts, racial divine artifacts, God's spirit inheritances from low-tier deity level elementary grade to fourth-order supreme god. It could be said that there was everything. That's nice. Zhou Fight muttered to himself. He continued searching. He soon had found what he wanted. Base Star Core, Grade 4 Supreme God level treasure, the core of the territory of the ultimate void battlefield. After planting it in the territory of the ownerless ultimate void battlefield, it can occupy the battlefield territory with a diameter of 10 trillion light-years. Grade 4 Supreme God level territory. Required military merits. 10 million military merits. 1 Supreme God Mission Medal. Zhou Fight looked down and realized that there were other low-level base cores. The lowest was a Grade 1 Supreme God base core that could occupy a battlefield territory with a diameter of 50 million light-years. It only required 2 million military merits and 1 Supreme God Mission Medal. Looks like I have to complete the mission first and obtain military merits and Supreme God-level mission medals. At this thought, Zhou Fight opened the mission list. Zhou Fight glanced at the missions on the mission list. There were all kinds of missions on it, but they were all about missions on the battlefield. For example, suppressing and occupying a Grade 2 Supreme God regional territory, Hummel City. The reward was 3 million military merits and 1 Supreme God Mission Medal. Repairing the Grade 1 Supreme God Divine Artifact of the Mysterious Underworld Supreme God, the Mysterious Underworld Ho. Reward: 500,000 military merits and 2 Master God level mission medals. Provide 100,000 units of divine power supplementary materials from low-level to high-tier deity level. Reward: 50,000 military merits and a Master God tier medal. There were all kinds of missions. Zhou Fight scrutinized it for a long time before his gaze finally landed on a mission. Conquer the Grade 1 Supreme God-level war territory. Kai City, Grade 1 Supreme God-level mission. Conquer Kai City and eliminate the Void General. Kai's Grade 1 Supreme God, and be rewarded with 2 million military merit points and a Supreme God-level mission medal. Grade 1 Supreme God Mission. The strongest opponent I'm facing is probably this Void General, Kai's, who is also a Grade 1 Supreme God. It's also very close to the planet where the Demon Lord's base is. It's not very difficult. I can try it out. In passing, I can also test the newly obtained Supreme Unique Lord talent, Son of Destiny. Perhaps I can induce insight defection to become this Grade 1 Supreme God. Zhou Fight thought to himself that it did not matter even if the insight defection did not arrive. With his current strength, coupled with those supreme divine artifacts and supreme god-level treasures, he still had some confidence in dealing with a Grade 1 Supreme God as long as he did not deal with those top supreme gods. The thought of this, Zhou Fight no longer hesitated and immediately accepted this mission. Then, he immediately led the army out of the banquet and headed for a void teleportation array on the Demon Lord planet base. This void teleportation array could teleport he and his army to a place about 1 trillion light-years away from Kai City.as for the rest of the way. Zhou Fight could only rely on himself, 1 trillion light-years. If I can teleport through the dark universe, I can reach my destination in less than an hour. However, in the ultimate void battlefield where the laws of this supreme great cosmos are greatly suppressed, The eternal mothership can't enter the dark universe at all, let alone teleport. We can only fly over this trip of 1 trillion light years. It'll probably take about a day. Zhou Fight shook his head. In the ultimate void battleground, it was really inconvenient everywhere. Then, he did not waste any more time and piloted the Eternal Mothership and the other Master God-tier advanced grade battleships and flew towards Kai's city at full speed. The Lord of 10,000 Evils also received the news at the same time that Zhou Fight accepted this mission. As the highest administrator of the Supreme Will faction in the ultimate void battlefield, he naturally had this authority. This brother of mine actually accepted a Supreme God-level mission as soon as he came. I remember that there are no Supreme God-level experts in his faction, right? The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked puzzled. Then he thought to himself, he doesn't look like a rash and ignorant person. Since he dares to accept a mission of this level, it means that he has a certain level of confidence. Forget it, he frowned and waved his hand. He saw an ultimate evil spirit emitting the aura of a grade 1 supreme god come to his side. Master, what can I do for you? He asked coldly. From now on, pay attention to the information from Kai's city at all times. At the same time, get the 1,000 evil army to prepare for battle and be prepared to receive the Supreme Lord, the 4th Reserve Army, who is heading to Kai's city to suppress us. Yes, Your Majesty. The ultimate evil spirit nodded, and then a puzzled expression appeared on its cold and stiff face. Your Majesty, isn't that Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army your competitor? Since the other party has taken such a risky action, let's just watch them die. Why do we have to go the extra mile to save him? He is the Supreme Lord's Reserve Army that the Supreme will personally send here, and I'm the leader of the ultimate void battlefield. Something happened to him as soon as he arrived. Even if it has nothing to do with me, it will definitely affect me. It will definitely affect my impression in the Supreme Will's heart. In the period when he first came, I'll help he a few times. But as time passes and he becomes completely familiar with the situation in the ultimate void battlefield, I won't help him anymore. When the time comes, whatever happens to he will have nothing to do with me. When the time comes, he will know everything he needs to know after all. If we encounter danger again, it can only prove that the other party is weak and stupid. It has nothing to do with me. The Lord of 10,000 Evils shook his head. Your Majesty is wise. I'll go now. This grade 1 Supreme God Ultimate Evil Spirit came to a realization when he heard this. Then he went to carry out his orders. When the Lord of 10,000 Evils saw this, he only silently watched the other party leave. Many strange emotions flashed across his eyes. There was anticipation, nervousness, uneasiness, relief. But in the end, they all turned into a sigh. Time passed quickly. It was the next day in the blink of an eye in the blazing sun divine capital. In the reincarnation sacred palace, Zhou Zhou slowly opened his eyes. A smile appeared on his face as he sensed his strength and realm perfected the true God-tier advanced grade. I can advance to the low-level Master God-tier elementary grade as long as I break through the bottleneck. One can advance to the low-level Master God-tier elementary grade tomorrow. Zhou Zhou muttered with a smile. It was the bottleneck for advancing to the Master God-tier after all, especially when it was the bottleneck of advancing to the Lord Law Master God. It was still a little difficult. He still needed some time to break through the bottleneck and complete the advancement even if his aptitude was already considered world-shaking. Then, he stopped thinking and used half of the origin in his body to create his 10th clone. Soon, Zhou 10 was created. Greetings, main body. Zhou 10, who had just been born, cupped his fists at Zhou Zhou calmly. From today onwards, your name will be Zhou 10. You will do the same as me, comprehending the Lord's laws in the reincarnation sacred palace. Zhou Zhou made arrangements for Zhou 10's future. All right, main body. Zhou 10 nodded. Zhou Zhou was both satisfied and surprised. This 10th clone of his was sufficiently obedient. However, it was good to be obedient. It saved him the trouble of thinking about how difficult it was for his avatar to come up with a name. He got Zhou 10 to stay here to cultivate. Then, with a thought, He opened the Lord Talent interface and saw the end that a brand new mythical tier Lord Talent appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. He took a look and was pleasantly surprised. It's actually this Lord Talent. As expected of the supreme sacred body. The awakening is what I need. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself that he looked at this Lord Talent and a notification appeared. Lord Talent. Ultimate Void. Mythical tier. Unique. Specific talent effect. You have obtained the inheritance of the ultimate void law. Advance. Grade Master God tier. You can comprehend the ultimate void law and be like a fish in water in the ultimate void. Zhou Zhou looked at this Lord Talent, and the corners of his 11 lips curled up. Zhou Fight and the god spirits under him were in an alternate world independent of the supreme great cosmos in the ultimate void battlefield. Their laws could be said to be restricted everywhere, and with the ultimate void law inheritance bestowed by the ultimate void Lord Talent, as long as he 11 comprehended and grasped it, Zhou Fight would definitely be able to master the ultimate void power and escape the negative effects of the ultimate void battlefield. He could even get the ultimate void battlefield to help him complete the mission given to 11 him by the supreme will. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou immediately woke up Zhou Ten, who had just entered a meditative state. Zhou Ten. From today onwards, you don't have to comprehend the Lord's law for the time being. Study the ultimate void law first, and strive to master the ultimate void law to the Master God tier level as soon as possible. 11-inch. Only the mastery of the ultimate void laws at this level can be useful to Zhou Fight and the others. Alright. Main body. Zhou Ten expressed that there was no problem. His personality was that of a tool, so he did not resist Zhou Zhou's arrangements at all. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly when he saw this. Then, he walked out of the reincarnation sacred palace and arrived in Mu Gu's world this moment. Mu Gu was drinking tea in the pavilion. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he sat down impolitely and drank tea and discussed the Tao with him. A moment later, a golden stream of light flew out of the scarlet brood mother and landed in front of Zhou Zhou. It was Wu Xian, the Legion commander of the Homeland Defense Army. Wu Xian greets His Majesty. Wu Xian immediately said respectfully when he saw Zhou Zhou. Then, he immediately took out 3 world rings and handed them to Zhou Zhou. Your Majesty, this is today's spoils of war. Zhou Zhou nodded and took it. Then, he entered it with his divine consciousness. One of the world rings contained a large number of iron-eating bear pet eggs, tree core gems, and other loots. Among other 2 world rings, one of them contained the 32 capital units 1, Supreme God Realm Soldier Recruitment Books, and the 32 capital units, Supreme Holy Mage God Recruitment Books. The other world ring contained the 32 capital units 1, Supreme God Realm Soldier Class Change Certificate, and the 32 capital units, Supreme Holy Mage God Class Change Certificate. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou handed the world ring containing the Class Change Certificate to Wu Xian. Legion Commander Wu Xian, give these Class Change Certificates to Feng Luo, and let him gradually change the remaining soldier types of the main army into these 2 supreme soldier types. After the main combat army under our command and the soldiers of your Homeland Defense Army have all changed to Supreme God Realm soldiers and Supreme Holy Mage Gods, we will leave another 500 capital units Class Change Certificates as backup. Then, we will begin to use the newly produced Class Change Certificates on the reserve recruits. The current him wouldn't be afraid of any enemy. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll hand it over to Legion Commander Feng Luo now. Wu Xian said solemnly. Then, he immediately went to do his work. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou took the remaining recruitment books to the Gate of Summoning and summoned a Master God Tier Advanced Grade Eternal Battleship. This Master God Tier Advanced Grade Eternal Battleship was one of the subtypes of the Eternal Mothership. It was specialized in cross-border wars, multiverse wars, and could even carry out inter-universe wars. It was a top-notch battleship specialized in offense. Developed by the Machina Master God, Zero, there were only 103 top-notch battleships of this level in the entire Machina race. After Machina Master God Zero completely submitted to the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, Zero directly took out 80 of the advanced grade Master God battleships and personally sent them to the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom for the army to use. Seeing Zhou Zhou was naturally very satisfied with Zero's selfless contribution. $0, he directly gave him a grade 2 Supreme God's Book of the God Spirit. Hence, the Machina Master God became the first Master God among the 10 Master Gods to obtain the Supreme God's inheritance. When the War Master God and the other top Master Gods saw that the Machina Master God had actually obtained the inheritance of the Supreme God's Book of the God Spirit from Zhou Zhou, they were immediately excited. They all wanted to ask Zhou Zhou for the Supreme God's inheritance that belonged to them, but Zhou Zhou did not give it to them. How precious was the inheritance of the Supreme God? Even Zhou Zhou had only obtained 100 to 200 portions. The War Master God and the others were indeed qualified to obtain a Supreme God's inheritance, but there was no time limit. They had just joined the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom and had yet to make a great contribution. They could not be considered to have followed their old minister. Under such circumstances, Zhou Zhou did not want to give them the inheritance of the Supreme God for the time being. At the very least, they had to show enough value before Zhou Zhou would give them the Book of the God Spirit. The Supreme God, for example, Zero had directly sent 80 Master God tier advanced grade battleships. Even though the combined value of these 80 Master God tier advanced grade space battleships might not even be comparable to a Supreme God's Book of the God Spirit, these were given with good intentions. And Zhou Zhou was currently in need of cosmic warships of this level. That was why he had given the Machina Master God and Supreme God the Book of the God Spirit. The War Master God and the others were not stupid. They quickly knew that they had not made any great contributions at the moment and were not worthy of being bestowed with the Supreme God's inheritance. Therefore, they were all holding back and wanted to make contributions. It was fine if they did not know that Zhou Zhou had the Supreme God's inheritance in the past. Now that they knew, they had to give it their all. Speaking of which, after Zhou Zhou summoned an eternal battleship, he spent 100 intermediate true God tier divine crystals to summon the extraordinary tier advanced grade army of the 64 capital units and place them all on the eternal battleship. After a few simple words, Zhou Zhou asked Zero to send these recruits to Feng Luo to join the main combat army. Then, he opened the original Dragon Abyss interface and spent 100 intermediate true God tier divine crystals to summon 66,666,660 pure-blooded dragons. He also placed them in the Eternal Mothership. Then, he carefully observed these dragons and regrettably discovered that there were no legendary dragons among these pure-blooded dragons. Zhou Zhou could not help but feel a little regretful. But 11 he did not pay much attention to it. Then, he spent another 100 true God tier intermediate grade divine crystals to recruit today's new subjects. In the end, he realized that he had recruited more than 510 million new subjects today. He had summoned more than 80 million new subjects than usual, including the 13 true God tier intermediate grade God spirits. Moreover, because of the Lord talent, heavenly summoning, most of the 470 million new subjects were extraordinary tier advanced grade non-professionals. The remaining subjects were professionals whose strength exceeded that of the extraordinary tier advanced grade. Zhou Zhou smacked his lips. It seemed that having extraordinary tier power without a profession was not a bug. That was good. They would all be arranged to enter the Homeland Defense Army first before giving out RHE profession class change certificate and letting them change their professions to professionals first at this moment. Boom, 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 boom. A total of 36 pillars of light soared into the sky from the direction of the Reincarnation Sacred Palace. Zhou Zhou smiled when he once saw this. Another true god had advanced to the Master God tier realm. Furthermore, there were a total of 36 new Master Gods. The phenomena of the advancement of 36 Master Gods shocked the myriad worlds. Countless God spirits immediately looked at the source of the advancement phenomenon. When they saw that the phenomena of the advancement of the 36 Master Gods came from the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, most of their attitudes were shocked and matter-of-fact. Today, 36 true gods actually advanced to the Master God tier level at the same time. Oh, it's the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. Then it's fine. The advancement of 36 true gods at the same time has really refreshed my worldview. It's ridiculous. As expected of the Supreme Lord Reserve Army, there are 36 new master gods right from the start. Even the three top bloodline races of the past can't do such a grand advancement. What more us? What three top bloodline races? Now that the three top bloodline races have already declined, unless new existences like Origin and Di Huang can pop up again. Your Excellency, Common People's Regal, when are you going to lead the humans under you to become the only top bloodline race faction? The god spirits of the myriad worlds were discussing. Some god spirits even congratulated Zhou Zhou through the Lord channel or the battle channel of the myriad races. Zhou Zhou did not respond. A moment later, 36 streams of light soared into the sky from the reincarnation sacred palace and landed in front of Zhou Zhou. Among them were 16 new master gods of the human race. There were also 20 new master gods of the people of foreign races at this moment. They were half kneeling in front of Zhou Zhou and saying respectfully and gratefully, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Thank you for the inheritance, Your Majesty. Otherwise, we wouldn't have our current achievements. Your efforts are also an indispensable reason for you to advance to the Master God tier, even though the Master God tier inheritance is important." "Get up," Zhou Zhou said. "Tonight, this emperor will hold a new Master God banquet for you guys to celebrate your advancement to Master God tier." Zhou Zhou smiled. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The 36 new Master Gods said respectfully. In unison, Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. Then, he waved his right hand, and a total of 36 world rings appeared in front of every new Master God. Among these 36 world rings, every world ring has a set of Master God tier elementary grade divine artifacts that are suitable for you. The rules are the same. Make good use of the main divine artifact this emperor gave you. Perform well in the army in the future. If you perform outstandingly, this emperor can give you even higher level supreme god inheritance. Zhou said solemnly. He already had a lot of supreme god inheritances in his hands. It was time to use them to excite his subordinates, supreme god inheritance. When the 36 new master gods and the surrounding master gods of the blazing sun divine kingdom heard this, disbelief immediately appeared in their eyes, and their breathing quickened. They naturally believed that what His Majesty said was true. His Majesty had only surpassed himself in terms of remuneration and never given him insufficient amounts. Since His Majesty said that there was the inheritance of the Supreme God, there definitely would be. Moreover, there might be a Supreme God inheritance that was specially suitable for them. Their eyes burned at the thought of this. Their eyes burned. That was the inheritance of the Supreme God. Even top Master Gods like the 10 Master Gods dreamed of obtaining the inheritance. They were even willing to sell their bodies for it. It could be seen how precious such an inheritance was. His Majesty was actually willing to give it to him. Long live His Majesty. We will definitely perform well and not let His Majesty down. The new Master Gods shouted. Your Majesty, if we perform well, can we also compete for the inheritance of the Supreme God? Among the surrounding god spirits, one of them said impatiently. The other Master Gods also had expectant expressions. Among them, War Master God Terence and the other 10 Master Gods had the most expectant and eager expressions. Sure. As long as you make a great contribution, every god spirit is qualified to obtain the supreme god inheritance in this emperor's hands. Let me say this in advance. I don't have many supreme god inheritances in my hands. First come, first served. I won't wait for you if you're late. Zhou Zhou smiled. The god spirits cheered when they heard this, their eyes filled with ambition. Zhou Zhou smiled when he saw this. Then, he sensed the lower limit of the human race's potential. If the human race wanted to raise the lower limit of their potential from an epic tier advanced grade to a legendary tier elementary grade, they needed a total of 50 new Master Gods. Now that there were 16 new human Master Gods, he only needed to add 34 new human Master Gods in the future to raise the minimum potential of the human race to the legendary tier elementary grade. Zhou nodded inwardly. 34 new Master God tiers of the human race were naturally not difficult for the current him. Perhaps in 3 to 4 days, he would be able to gather these new Master God tiers and raise the lower limit of human potential. Then, he got these new master god tiers to look for Feng Luo and arrange their future posts. He came to Zhou Chengmin as for him. In the end, there was still nothing that attracted him today. He couldn't help but be disappointed. Your Majesty, you can also wait a few years. This way, I can also accumulate some goods. Perhaps some goods that your Majesty likes can appear? Zhou Chengmin couldn't help but suggest, forget it. I don't have anything to do usually. I'll just treat it as a stroll. Zhou Zhou waved his hand and rejected his suggestion. He quite liked the feeling of opening a mystery box every day. Although there was a high chance that he wouldn't be able to open any good products, he would just treat it as enjoying the process of opening a mystery box. When I increase the supreme sacred body to the supreme god level, I must increase this lordship too. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he bought all the goods. He instructed Zhou Marshal to lead the army to the Chaos Sea to collect Chaos Divine treasures as he returned to the Reincarnation Sacred Palace. Now that Zhou Fight was not around, he could only let Zhou Marshal and Feng Luo lead the army to collect the Chaos Divine treasures for the time being. Zhou Marshal immediately accepted the order and went forward. At the Chaos Sea, when Zhou Marshal led the army to the Chaos Sea, with the help of Bodhi Supreme, they quickly saw the space-time chaotic divine demon and the other 10 chaotic divine demons he had brought. Greetings, Your Majesty. The space-time chaotic divine demon immediately said respectfully when he saw Zhou Marshal. You're quite a stickler. You really brought the 10 chaotic divine demons? Zhou Marshal said in surprise when he saw the 10 chaotic divine demons with different nomological auras behind the space-time chaotic divine demon. Just losing a chaos divine treasure can be exchanged for 4 master god tier divine artifacts. Not every chaotic divine demon has the courage to reject such a profitable deal. The space-time chaotic divine demon smiled. Zhou Marshal nodded. This space-time chaotic divine demon was really a talent and could be nurtured. Their eyes burned at the thought of this. Zhou Marshal waved his right hand and saw a divine medicine appear in his hand. He threw it in front of the chaotic divine demon. This is a grade 1 supreme god-level treasure, space-time ghost grass. It's extremely effective in replenishing the origin of the space-time law. It can also greatly increase the comprehension of the space-time law for master gods who cultivate the space-time law. This emperor took away your chaotic divine treasure yesterday, and you lost a lot of your origin, right? This is your reward. Go back and recuperate well. Try to bring more chaotic divine demons to this emperor to trade. Zhou Marshal said calmly. It was just a grade 1 supreme god-level divine medicine. It was nothing to him. However, a space-time chaotic divine demon that could provide an endless supply of chaotic divine treasures was very important to him. Therefore, he did not feel the pinch at all when he rewarded the other party with divine medicine. This is called an investment. Thank you, Your Majesty. The space-time chaotic divine demon looked at the divine medicme in his hand that emitted the aura of a supreme god. His eyes filled with ecstasy. He could sense that this divine medicine was extremely compatible with him, just as His Majesty had said. Not only could this divine medicine help him recover his origin, it could even greatly increase his comprehension of Lord's law. Even because he and the divine medicine's nomological attributes came from the same source, after consuming it, the probability of him advancing to the supreme god realm in the future would increase by about I degree/0, even though this increase in probability of advancement seemed insignificant. It was extremely precious to space-time chaotic divine demons. Their eyes burned at the thought of this. He couldn't help but feel even more grateful to His Majesty at the same time. He looked forward to the future even more. He had only brought the first day of the chaotic divine demon realm to His Majesty, but he had obtained such a reward. Then, if he brought more chaotic divine demons in the future, how many benefits would His Majesty bring him? Their eyes burned at the thought of this. The time and space chaotic divine demon's divine spark trembled with excitement. Zhou Marshal did not care when he saw the space-time chaotic divine demon's reaction. His gaze landed on the 10 chaotic divine demons. Everyone should be sure that you want to trade with this emperor, right? Zhou Marshal asked. Yes, Supreme Lord Fourth Reserve Army. The leader of the chaotic divine demons that emitted the law of fire said. Then he asked, even though we've already learned from the mouths of space and time, we still want to confirm if we can really obtain 4 Master God tier advanced grade divine artifacts at the price of 1 chaos divine treasure? As soon as he finished speaking, the other 9 chaotic divine demons only stared at Zhou Marshal, as if they wanted to see if he was telling the truth from his expression. Of course. Zhou Marshal nodded. If you don't believe me, this emperor can hand over the 4 Master God tier divine artifacts to you first. After you put them away, this emperor can personally take away your chaos divine artifacts. As soon as he said that, while the 9 chaotic divine demons marveled at Zhou Marshal's boldness, they felt much more relieved. Your Majesty, aren't you afraid that we'll leave after taking the Master God tier divine artifact? Another chaotic divine demon who walked the path of the insect law asked curiously. You won't do anything after taking the divine artifact? Zhou Marshal grinned, revealing his white and neat teeth. He smiled faintly and said, then even if you escape to the divine demon realm, even if you have the protection of your chaotic divine demon race's Di Huang, this emperor can make you pay the price. Do you believe me? The chaotic divine demons present could not help but feel a great chill in their hearts after hearing it, even though he said this with a smile. This 4th Reserve Army of the Lord Supreme Lord could not be provoked easily. They thought to themselves, Sir, let's make a deal now. The chaotic divine demon of the fire law hurriedly said. Zhou Marshal nodded and waved his right hand. A total of 10 world rings appeared in front of them. Let's take a look, Zhou Marshal said. The 10 chaotic divine demons did not stand on ceremony and immediately entered with their divine senses to check. When they saw the 4 main divine artifacts that were suitable for their nomological path, a pleasantly surprised smile immediately appeared on their faces. How is it? Zhou Marshal asked. Lord, the main divine artifact you provided me is too suitable for me. I'm very satisfied with this transaction. Lord, I'm very satisfied too. Sir, why? Don't I just kill myself so that you don't have to do anything? The 10 chaotic divine demon master gods said. Let this emperor do it myself. Zhou Marshal shook his head and rejected their suggestion of taking the initiative to commit suicide and gave them world rings. Then, they handed the world rings in their hands to the space-time chaotic divine demons for safekeeping and agreed to return them to them one by one after returning to the divine demon realm. Then, they lined up in front of Zhou Marshal and got him to personally eliminate they and extract their spoils of war. There were 10 Master God tier advanced grade chaotic divine demons, other than the first chaotic divine demon who used the explosive Lord Talent effect to drop 40 chaotic divine treasures. The rest only dropped 4 chaotic divine treasures. In total, there were 76 chaotic divine treasures. Zhou Marshal looked at the 76 chaos divine treasures floating in front of him and smiled. He already had 100 chaos divine treasures in his hands. Now, with the addition of these 76 chaos divine treasures, he had 176 chaos divine treasures. He was only 24 chaos divine treasures away from the 200 chaos divine treasures needed to upgrade his territory. Tomorrow, my main body can upgrade my territory. After upgrading my territory, I can upgrade the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom from an intermediate grade Divine Kingdom to an advanced Divine Kingdom. Zhou Marshal was very satisfied with his gains today. Then, he looked at the space-time chaotic divine demon. Can you bring more chaotic divine demons over tomorrow? The chaotic divine demon smiled bitterly. Your Majesty, with my ability, bringing 10 chaotic divine demons at once is already my limit. Any more, unless I can advance to the Supreme God realm. Zhou Marshal nodded and did not mind 10 chaotic divine demons it was. Anyway, he had gained a lot in a day. Your Majesty, I have another way to increase the efficiency of obtaining the chaos divine treasure. It's fine as long as Your Majesty is willing to give up the Master God tier divine artifact. The space-time chaotic divine demon suddenly said, Tell me, this emperor is not lacking in Master God tier divine artifacts, Zhou Marshal said. The space-time chaotic divine demon clicked his tongue and said, As a chaotic divine demon, I can naturally only bring 10 chaotic divine demons out to trade with your majesty. However, I still know a few chaotic divine demons who are also good at escaping from the divine demon realm. Even though their methods are not as good as mine, I can at least bring a few out. I can contact them and let them bring more chaotic divine treasures to your majesty with me. I estimate that this way, my good friends can bring at least 30 chaotic divine demons who are willing to trade with his majesty a day. 1 foot 11 inches. Leave this to you. You can tell this emperor what your good friend needs. This emperor can satisfy anything as long as I have it. Zhou Marshal said without hesitation, even though he was about to reach a high-level divine kingdom. Who knew if there were any higher lord factions above the high-level divine kingdoms? Just in case. And in order to accumulate some resources for his subordinates to advance their divine kingdoms, Zhou Zhou decided to make this deal in any case. He was the one who decided if the transaction continued. When he was sure that he really did not need more chaos divine treasures, he could just terminate the transaction. Yes, Your Majesty. The space-time chaotic divine demon immediately said respectfully at this moment. Several lines of information suddenly appeared in front of Zhou Marshal. He had only brought the first day of the chaotic divine demon realm to his majesty, but he had obtained such a reward. Your Majesty, are we going back? Seeing that the 10 chaotic divine demons had been dealt with, Feng Luo walked forward and asked, wait a minute. The resources and slave soldiers of the original spirit race, shepherd's god race, and chaos god's race have all been prepared. They will be sent over in a while. Prepare yourselves and receive them, Zhou Marshal said. The message he saw was the message sent by Origin.at this moment. Origin had already gathered 90% of the assets of the 3 races and 90% of the soldier types of the 3 races according to the 3 requests that Zhou Zhou had previously made. He was currently rushing towards him. As for why the Origin knew that Zhou Marshal was here, it was naturally Zhou Marshal who told him. Other than that, Origin also reported that he had already sent his subordinates to find the god spirits who were heading to the ultimate void battlefield. He only needed to summon them through the ultimate void battlefield function. They could come to Zhou Marshal's side or directly head to the ultimate void battlefield. Zhou Marshal was quite satisfied with Origin's efficiency. He did not expect the other party to complete so many complicated things in just a day. Furthermore, it was done in the ultimate void battlefield. Not bad, not bad. Yes, Your Majesty. Feng Luo immediately bowed respectfully upon hearing this. Then, they waited for the army of the 3 races to arrive. They did not make Zhou Marshal and the others wait too long. A moment later, 3 majestic armies broke through the chaotic airflow and chaotic divine lightning and arrived in front of Zhou Marshal. It was the alliance army of the 3 top bloodline races. Then, 3 members of the 3 races, emitting the aura of Master God tier advanced grade, came in front of Zhou Marshal. The leader of the original spirit race, Xianyi, greets Your Majesty. The leader of the shepherd's god race, Jiu Tianhua, greets Your Majesty. The leader of the chaos god's race, Yangdu, greets Your Majesty. The leaders of the 3 races said respectfully to Zhou Marshal, get up. Zhou Marshal said calmly, tell me about the situation of the army you brought. Yes, Your Majesty. The leaders of the 3 races said respectfully. Then, they looked at each other. It was still Xianyi of the original spirit race who spoke first. Your Majesty, apart from bringing 90% of our race's assets, we also brought elite soldiers and god spirits from our race and its subsidiary races. Among them, our original spirit race brought a total of 256 capital units troops, 354 to 12 million god spirits, 37,911 true god tiers, and 129 master god tiers. The leader of the shepherd's god race, Jiu Tianhua, stood out, reporting to Your Majesty. Our shepherd's god race has brought a total of 217 capital units troops, 382.99 million god spirits, 36,777 true god tiers, and 108 supremacy gods. In the end, the leader of the chaotic god race, Yangdu, stood up and said respectfully, Your Majesty, our Chaos Beast clan has brought a total of 197 capital units troops, 367,820,000 god spirits, 39,111 true god tiers, and 119 master god tiers. After Zhou Marshall heard this, he might have nodded slightly, but he was pleasantly surprised. His original military strength was 274 capital units, 264,124,150,579,532 soldiers, 361,614,720 god spirits, 42,407 true gods, and 165 master gods. Now, with the surrender of the three top bloodline races in front of him, there were a total of 944 capital units, with 264,124,150,579,532 soldiers, 1,466,454,720 god spirits, 156,206 true god tiers, and 521 supremacy gods. This number of troops, especially ordinary troops, was already very close to the total number of troops when the three top bloodline races besieged him. Even the number of god spirits was equivalent to half of the other party's number. At that time, as expected, only by experiencing a large-scale war could his military strength and the number of god spirits increase rapidly. Your Majesty, these are 90% of the assets of our three races. We've already placed them all in these three super-large world rings. The leaders of the three races in front of Zhou Marshall held up world rings to him with both hands. Zhou Wu took the three world rings and entered them with his divine sense. Then he could not help but raise his eyebrows. What huge world rings! The size of each of these three world rings was comparable to the size of 10 boundless universes. The space could be said to be extremely large. However, such a terrifying world was actually densely filled with all kinds of assets of the three races. Among them were the mist core, divine crystals, equipment, divine artifacts, building blueprints, technological information, various books, medicinal herbs, minerals, civilization inheritance, race secret techniques, ready-made race buildings. There were all kinds of treasures. This was only a race with a strong foundation like the three top bloodline races if it were any other race. Even if it was a high-level bloodline race, the assets of 10 high-level bloodline races combined would not be as many treasures as one of the world rings. Zhou Marshall looked at the treasures in the three worlds with interest. Even with his willpower realm that had just reached the will divine transformation realm, he would not be able to see all the items in the three world rings in a short period of time. However, he was in no hurry. What he didn't lack now was time. When the leaders of the three races saw that Zhou Marshall was checking the assets in the three world rings, they naturally did not stop him. Instead, they waited quietly. Zhou Marshall suddenly narrowed his eyes slightly, but he quickly returned to normal. This change in expression was extremely fast. No one present noticed Zhou Marshall's abnormality. A moment later, Zhou Marshall roughly looked at the assets of the true god tier and above in the three world rings. He put away the three world rings after confirming that there were no problems. Then, he looked up at the three race leaders in front of him. Not bad. There's no problem with the assets you sent over, and there's no problem with the military strength and the god spirits. In that case, this emperor will temporarily choose to forget the unhappy things that happened in the past. I hope you won't do anything that disappoints this emperor in the future. Zhou Marshall said calmly. We don't dare. We would never do such a thing. Xian Yi and the others said in fear and trepidation on the surface, even though they secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Zhou Marshall nodded calmly. They had all been beaten down to the slave race. In addition, the strength of his faction was increasing rapidly every day. He was not afraid that these guys would have any rebellious thoughts. At most, he would kill them all. He looked at the nearly 1,000 capital units troops and suddenly said, even though this emperor has taken away most of your troops, you don't have to worry about the safety of your race and the revenge of the other races. Now you are already this emperor's slave race. You represent the camp of this emperor and the blazing sun divine kingdom. When you encounter an enemy, Report this emperor's name. I believe that even if the other party is a will-level faction, they will give this emperor some face. Thank you, Your Majesty. The leaders of the three races were pleasantly surprised.